Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Adult Storytime this week. Happy Independence Day. Since we have the holiday coming up on Saturday, I thought that the book I would read an excerpt from today would have a bit of a patriotic feel to it. It is called Book of Ages by Jill Lepore. It's the portrait of Jane Franklin, who was Benjamin Franklin's sister. Although she was a central person in her famous brother's life, and he wrote more letters to her than anyone else, he actually never mentioned her in any of his autobiographies or memoirs that he wrote. So as famous and wealthy as Benjamin Franklin's life was, Jane's life was obscure and poverty-stricken. So it was kind of the yin and the yang in the two siblings' lives there. The author uses letters, documents, objects, and portraits to write Jill's story. So I'll go ahead and read part of the preface of the book. Benjamin Franklin's sister Jane thought of her brother as her second self. He was the youngest of 10 sons. She was the youngest of 7 daughters. Benny and Jenny, they were called when they were little. No two people in their family were more alike. Their lives could hardly have been more different. He ran away from home when he was 17. She never left. He taught himself to write with wit and force and style. She never learned how to spell. The day he turned 21, he wrote her a letter. She was 14, beginning a correspondence that would last until his death 63 years later. He became a printer, a philosopher, and a statesman. She became a wife, a mother, and a widow. He signed the Declaration of Independence, the Treaty of Paris, and the Constitution. She strained to form the letters of her name. He loved no one longer. She loved no one better. He wrote more letters to her than he wrote to anyone. All her life, she wrote back, letter after letter, filled with news and recipes and gossip, and when she was truly sorely vexed, and only then, with her blistering opinions about politics. He wrote the story of his life, a well-turned tale about a boy who runs away from poverty and obscurity in cramped, pious Boston and leaves all that behind, leaves home behind, leaves his sister behind, leaves the past behind, to become an enlightened, independent man of the world, a free man. It is one of the most important autobiographies ever written. It is also an allegory about America, the story of a man as the story of a nation. In that story, he left her out. Never once did he so much as mention her name. All the same, little of what Benjamin Franklin wrote, not the Silence Do-Good essays, not Poor Richard's Almanac, not The Way of Wealth, not the autobiography, can be understood without her. The book, A History of the Life and Opinions of Jane Franklin, contains with it a wholly new reading of the life and opinions of her brother, but more, it tells her story. Like his, her life is an allegory. It explains what it means to write history, not from what survives, but from what is lost. One half of the world does not know how the other half lives, Franklin once wrote. His sister is his other half. She never wrote the story of her life. This would scarcely have occurred to her, but she did once write a book. She stitched 4 sheets of foolscap between 2 covers to make 16 pages. On its first page, she wrote, it has her signature here in the book, and then it's dated March 27th, 1712. She called it her Book of Ages. It is a record of the births and deaths of her children, a litany of grief. I once held it in my hands. It was so small, so fragile, so plain, her handwriting so tiny and cramped. 16 pages, and as I turned them, I discovered that she had left the last pages blank. Had she nothing more to say? If Jane Franklin seems like someone you'd like to learn more about, please check this book out. Again, it's called The Book of Ages by Jill Lepore. It's available on Overdrive and Libby if you do digital books, and there are also some print copies available in our library system if you'd like to place them on hold. Again, the library is open, so you can come pick up your holds, say hello, and thanks for tuning in and have a great 4th. Bye.